What's up, comrades? Nove here, and welcome to a brand new video. Today, we're going to be discussing Kamen Rider Build! That's right, I've actually had some time, had some opportunity to actually watch some of the show, and I'm going to be giving my first impressions. I know this is incredibly late, but at the same time, I really wanted to talk about the show because it is really goddamn good. So, with that said, let's get into the best match, if you will, of this particular show, and I'm going to give you my genuine thoughts on it. First off, I'm going to go over kind of basic plot stuff for those of you who are unaware of what Kamen Rider is or what this story is about. We're going to go over that a little bit. So, for starters, over 10 years ago, there was a Martian expedition who discovered a mysterious object that they named Pandora's Box. And the artifact was activated during a national conference in Japan. Once that happened, a massive wall came out of the ground, known as the Sky Wall, and proceeded to split Japan into 3 different sectors: Saito, Hokuto, and Toto. Those are the 3 sectors that Japan has been split into. Basically, it split their government into 3 separate entities, all of which having to deal with several different situations in their respective area. Now, and that's one of the best parts about the show in particular, if I'm allowed to talk about that for a brief moment. I really love the kind of political intrigue that the show introduces. It handles that particular stuff really, really well. I always like to have a show that has political drama and intrigue in it because it makes the tension that much better, and it makes me go like, okay, what's going to happen? What kind of deals are going to go down and whatnot? And also, this show does that whole backstabbing thing that sometimes happens in a lot of these political shows where it's like everyone is vying for power and control, and the show is hinting at the potential of a war between these 3 different sectors of Japan, which is really well done and well executed. I love the hell out of it. And then, of course, in the background, you have the organization known as Faust. Basically, without spoiling too much about the individuals involved, Faust is a group of individuals who have taken it upon themselves to experiment on humans, creating new monsters by the name of Smash, and also helping to develop the Kamen Riders in particular of the show. It feels very old school Kamen Rider, because old school Kamen Rider was about an evil organization taking humans and experimenting on them. I really do appreciate the homage and the nod to that. It's really well done, and I highly appreciate it. Of course, a show like this is only as good as its main characters. It's only as good as the heroes and the villains themselves. So I'm going to discuss some of those heroes and those villains with you right now, what I think of each of them individually. So let's start off, particularly, with the main character, the main rider, Sento. What do I think of Sento? Well, for a brief synopsis on his particular character, he is a physicist, a scientist, with no memory of his past, which does add a little bit more intrigue and mystery to the story. He is a very upbeat and very kind individual. He wants to help people. He is the hero, after all, and he should do his job of trying to protect the people from the Smash and from Faust. I will say, though, now the one thing that's really interesting in one episode, they do one of the other characters does discuss the reasons why Sento has this moral guide, this reason why he wants to fight, the reason why he wants to help people, is because of his own insecurities, because of the fact that he doesn't know his past. He doesn't remember what happened to him. He only has flashbacks and small memories of what was done to him in Faust. So he's trying to make the world a better place, even though he himself is unsure of what his future holds and what his past even is. which I really appreciate. I really like his character. Of course, to me, actually, he is nothing in comparison to the character that we're going to talk about next, which would be Banjo Ryuga. I love this character. I really do. For some reason, I'm really drawn to him as a character. Sento is great, but I like Banjo even more because he's put in this situation. Banjo's backstory, for those of you who are unaware, he is framed for the murder of a scientist, a very well-known scientist who was researching the smoke and the skywall and Pandora's box. Banjo is accused of the murder, but he wasn't sent to prison. Or he was sent to prison, but then he was taken by Faust to be experimented on. And just in the first couple of episodes, the fact that he loses somebody very precious to him when he tries to escape, or after he tries to escape, a woman that he loves is taken by Faust and turned into a smash, but this time Sento can't save her like he has others. And this is his motivation of clearing his name and also getting revenge for the person that he lost. This is a really good story arc to take the character. It definitely makes me feel sympathetic towards him. And he is so determined to clear his innocence of all these crimes and to stop Faust, to the point of him not understanding Sento and the reason why he's, taking time out of his schedule of trying to solve these mysteries and trying to prove his innocence to help people. Banjo doesn't understand these types of things. He doesn't understand why he should be as selfless as Sento. I really do appreciate that. It's a really good dynamic between the two of them. They bounce off each other very well. And Banjo is also slightly pretty comical as a character as well, so that always helps. There's also side characters like Misori, who is basically her and her father, who they refer to as Master, who I'm going to refer to as Master because I don't know the character's name. They have connections with both Faust and the government and what happened at Pandora's box. And Misori has the power to help purify the bottles that are used for Sento's transformations. She's a really fun character to have around. She's pretty funny. Random weird things like threats of violence and whatnot for some reason that was not fully explained, but there's still a lot that's not known about her or her father, but at the same time, at least for me currently, but as of right now, they are really good characters. They're good supporting characters that I really like. There's also the reporter woman, who I cannot remember the name of. I apologize. She's a pretty good character too. There are things that happen that will be discussed probably in the future. I don't want to spoil too much of the show because I would recommend people to go and check it out if they can. But overall, I really enjoy the main cast, the supporting cast. They're all really good. But of course, a show is only as good as its villains. So what do I think about the villains? Currently, we have two particular villains. The one called Rogue, I think, or Blood Rogue. I'm kind of dropping the ball here. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm going to call him Rogue, mainly because he seems to be one of the de facto leaders of Faust. His Kamen Rider form is a bat, and he does have connections to both the government of, I think, Tonto, I believe, or one of the provinces. He has connections with that. I'm not going to spoil what exactly, but he is a really good villain. He's only interested in the success of his project, for the most part. He wants to, I guess you could say, kind of take control of the government and start a war for another faction and group that is in the show. It's really well handled and well made. He's certainly the bad guy. I wouldn't say that he's the most interesting of the bad guys or the villains currently. I would give that to Stark. Stark is probably one of the more interesting villains of the show, because not much is known about him from the very beginning. They don't reveal everything about him. There is a rumor that they introduce much later on that he might have a connection to another character, that the scientist who was presumed dead very early on, but there's no proof that he is that actual character as of yet. As of me watching it, I'm 12 episodes in, so there's no proof of that yet. But Stark is a very interesting enigma in the whole equation. He is constantly at blows with Rogue, and also testing out the other riders, particularly Sento and Banjo, testing to see what they're capable of, and even helping them from time to time. So you can't really read a guy like that. You don't know what he's going to do next, and it's very nice to see, because who knows what he may pull off next. I'm very curious to see where they take that. Will he be an ally? Will he be an enemy? Who really knows? I'm very curious to know who he really is. Is he the formerly murdered scientist? Or is he somebody else entirely? I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to finding out. Overall, I would highly recommend checking out Kamen Rider Build if you have not yet already. I know this video is incredibly late considering the show aired last year, but still, I'm catching up on all my Tokusatsu-based shows. I'm trying to catch up with as much of it as possible. I'm also trying to catch up with Lupin Ranger vs. Pataranger. So, you'll forgive me if I'm behind the loop, and there are so many Kamen Rider shows and whatnot and Sentais that I have not watched, so you'll forgive me if I'm behind. It could take me years to go through the entire catalog. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this particular video. I would highly and strongly recommend you watch Kamen Rider Build if you have not already. It's a more recent show. It's really easy to get into. So if you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed my first impressions of this show, please, as always, do not forget to leave me a like, shoot me a comment, subscribe if you're new. I would greatly appreciate it, and hit notifications. With that, of course, said, as always, do not forget to raise your nerd flags high, and I will see you next time. Nightwolf is out.